Alright, let's talk about hair creation again with Xgen this time. I want to go use interactive grooming. We have done this before one time, and this time is just to support the new classes with a little bit more techniques. So I'm gonna grab all the faces I need for the hair, a little bit over actually what I need, so that I can delete hairs if I don't want it to have that much. It's harder to add. So that's the faces I'm selecting now, and I'm gonna go ahead and go to the generate and choose this create interactive grooming plans. Go to the settings, I'm gonna name it hair, and then density is how dense they are, length is how long they are, width is how width they are, right? And then CV count is how many CVs you want to have. So this is my settings. I'm gonna go create, and you can see that's the hair I'm getting. Apparently I'm growing too much on the side of the face and on the forehead. So to fix that, I'm gonna go to the interactive grooming menu here, or palette here. I'm gonna go select the hair base and go to attribute editor. I'm gonna maybe drag attribute editor out and put it at the bottom. Okay, and my Xgen interactive grooming, this guy will be on the top, okay, so that we can see both. And then click on this density brush. Okay, and also go down there and choose go to the two settings, which I don't have it here. Double click to open two settings. Now maybe docket on this side. Let me turn off that, and I'm gonna go turn on symmetry. That's what I need to do. And then I'm gonna hold it down Control and erase some of the hair strands that I don't really need to have. And that's what I mean, we can always erase that. It's easier to have something there and erase to really define the hairline. Okay. Maybe a little bit too much over there. Alright, maybe not that much here either, so erase a few of that. Alright, before we start grooming those, I need to give them some variations because this looks too flat. To do so, I'm gonna go add a modifier and guide. Whoops, that's gonna be something later actually. You know what, let's add it first, it doesn't really matter. So the guide here, I'm gonna go down and then create guides. That's gonna create a bunch of thicker yellow lines. Those are actually guidelines. Okay. Now I don't also need all those things, so I'm gonna go to the guide and open that in guide base. Also go for the density brush and I'm gonna get rid of that. Now guide is being used to guide the hair and tell them where to go. Instead of using grooming brush to define one by one, we're going to use guide. But I think I'm having too much guide. Let me change the density multiplier actually to 0.5 or maybe even 0.3. You can see I'm having lesser hair strands or lesser guidelines. Okay, I can always place more if I wanted to. Okay, that sounds good. Let me close this guide for now. I'm going to go ahead and add a clump modifier. Now this clump modifier will try to clump the hair strands together. If it's easier to see, let's go ahead and add the guide by clicking on that guide in guide description. Okay. Alright. And then I'm gonna go and tweak the clump a little bit. I think I want the clump to be a little bit bigger at the bottom. Okay. Maybe got also a little bit smaller in the middle so that I'm having a cool fall off from there. And then let me go ahead and add a new modifier, and this time I'm going to choose the noise modifier. Noise modifier will allow me to give the hair a little bit of variation so they're not like all straight. It's hard to see actually hair to be super straight and unless you do something with it, right? So I'm going to go to the noise and say how about lesser frequency and bigger magnitude. And also it's only affecting the tip. The base is not being affected that much. That's what this graph means. So I'm gonna also drag the base up a little bit so that it's like not only having noise on the tip. and maybe not that much, just a little bit smaller. Alright, so this is all depending on the requirement of your hairstyle. And I'm gonna go on and do one more cut. This cut will help me to break up this very flat end. But for now, if I go to the cut and drag the amount, it's cutting in the same amount. So I'm gonna actually use the texture to control this. Go to the texture. I'm gonna load a noise texture. Okay, and then I'm gonna change the noise texture repetition to 6 times, so that I'm having smaller variations. As you can see, things are being changed a little bit. It's breaked up here already a little bit, but I want more breakup. I want the variation to be bigger. So I'm gonna go to the length variation will be bigger. So I'm gonna go to the color balance and then drag the alpha again. Okay, and drag that maybe to 6. You can see the more I have, the more shorter hair I will end up with. So with that, I can further break up the hair into more organic shapes. Okay. All right. The hairs appears to be a little bit thick, so I'm gonna go to the hair base or the description, and there's the width scale, right? I'm gonna change that to 0.05, so they're a little bit thinner than than the original thickness. All right. So now I can actually go ahead and do the sculpting or grooming of the guides. Let me go to the guide, open the sculpt, and turn on the edit. That's going to allow me just to start grooming the guide. The edit was originally on this sculpt layer of the entire hair description, and that's going to allow me to groom every individual hair strands. I moved that into here, so I'm actually grooming these yellow lines, which are guides, so I'm having lesser lines to work with. And that's the idea here. And I can go to the Xgen and choose any of the brushes, like the comb brush now, to start grooming down. Oops, let me resize my two. I'm using the invert frozen effect. So you can see I can start grooming down the hair strands. Alright, so that's our first. Oh, before I wrap up this up, we can even do one more thing, which is visualize these guys better. Let me turn off the guide. So I want to see like how those hair will be rendered as close as possible, right? As soon as possible too. To do that, I can actually set up some simple lighting. So what I'm going to do here is go. I think I already have that. Let me check. I have some lighting already. Let me go ahead and delete those. So show lighting here. I'm gonna go create some lights. So create light. I'm gonna create a directional light. Press 7 to visualize the light, and then it's at the bottom. So let me move it up. Okay. So that I can use this light to give me some more feedback on how the hair will look like with some shading. Alright. Let me control D to duplicate this guy one more time, and move this new guy to the other side. So that will have a fill light here too. And this light can be maybe just a little bit weaker, so I'm going to change the intensity to 2.5. And this guy can be a little bit stronger, I'm going to change that to 1.5. Okay. And then I'm going to grab those two lights and Ctrl G to group them together, so that I have a light group. And then I'm going to use my camera perspective, the current camera here, if I can go select it here. Control select the lights in the viewport or in the outliner. I'm gonna go for a constraint, which is gonna be over here. Constraint, parent constraint. That's gonna allow the lights to always follow me. So it's like a light that will always give me the proper lighting on my model. I can of course still tweak those a little bit to have the fill light rotating in a little bit more. Alright. And it should be it, but if you want to see a smoother shadow, you can of course also try that. It's gonna be selecting the light and go to the shape, and you change the shadow into a depth map shadow, and then you drag the resolution up, and you give it a little bit blur to filter it. As you can see, it's a little bit blurry now. Do the same thing for this guy too. But again, this is all like based on your graphic card, so you have to have a good graphic card to be able to handle it. Anyway, now I can go ahead and choose show light to turn off the light showing. Now I have some feedback on the lighting situation of the hair system. Okay, so that's one of the little tricks we can try, but oftentimes I will check them often, but I will like to work on this non-light effect, which is 5, 6 is with texture, 7 is with lighting. So I check here regularly to see if I'm getting the result I need. Alright, so that's gonna be it for our first tutorial. In the next one, we're gonna move ahead and start grooming our hair. Okay, see you next time.